Let's solve logarithmic equations. There was no rhythm in that whatsoever. I'm sorry. I should probably start the video over, but I'm not. Okay, we are going to use logarithms to solve problems, and we have 3 of them here and then a word problem down here. So this is going to go rather quickly. Let's start by staring at this thing and trying to figure out what on earth to do with it. First of all, this 2 is a coefficient. Coefficients become exponents. I hope you remember that. That might look foreign to you. That makes me panic if it does. Log of x squared minus log of 4 equals 2. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do now? I'll tell you exactly what to do now. We're going to divide those. So log of x squared over 4 equals 2. So division with logarithms is the same as subtracting 2 logs. So like we can condense this by dividing. If this said plus, if it was addition, we could multiply them. Okay, now we're going to draw a heart on our paper. What's that right down there? That's a 10. See? 10 to the second equals all that mess. We'll put it over here. 10 squared equals all that mess. I'm tempted to go about solving this one a different way, but I'm not going to. Find out what 10 squared is. You better know what 10 squared is. That's x squared over 4 right there. We will multiply by 4. Multiply by 4. Divide those out. Multiply by 4. Gives us 400. 400 equals x squared. Square root both sides. X equals 20. Okay, I would normally say plus and minus 20, but I'm not, because you can't take the log of a negative number, not if you're going to stay within the realm of real numbers and not imaginary numbers. For real. For real, get it? Anyway, there we go. Next problem, there is an e. Looks like there's 2 variables floating around here. There's not. There's just one. X is the only variable. In this case, we are going to go ln of 3 equals 1 minus x. You kind of have to know how to rearrange this thing. If you didn't catch what just happened, there's an understood e down here. Like there was an understood 10, there's an understood e here. And if you drew the heart on your paper, e to the 1 minus x equals 3, you'd be going backwards. So what we really need to do is find out what the natural log of 3 is. That's where your calculator comes in handy. Aren't you glad you didn't live in the 50s? You'd have to use a book for this. You have to like look it up in a book. Like in the 70s, you would have had to use a slide ruler. Back in the 80s, you'd have had to use a solar power calculator. That would have cost an arm and a leg. The money would have gone to fund the Cold War. We got 0.1 equals negative x. That's great, but we're going to divide by negative 1. Cancels those out. Divide by negative 1. And so x equals negative 0.1. We are done with that problem right there. Now, don't look at it and say, but you got a negative and you told us. Yeah, whatever. I know what I told you. We're not going to ever take the log of this negative number. See, nowhere in here is it like, take the log of x. It doesn't say that. Here it does. Take the log of x. So x can't be negative, but never ever says that here. All right, the next problem. Do not, oh my gosh, please do not turn that into a 15. Don't do it. Don't do it. Divide by 5. Why? Because you can't multiply these and make 15. Don't tell me that 5 times 3 is 15, because it's not. Not if that 3 has an exponent and the 5 doesn't. Don't even go there. Don't play me like that, bro. So 90 divided by 5 is 18. And now we're going to figure out what it is. No, the answer is not 6. It's not 3 times what? It's 3 to what power? So we're going to rewrite it as a log. We rewrite it as a log because there's an x as a variable. I mean, because there's an exponent that's a variable that happens to be an x. Log base 3 of 18 equals x. We will go log 18 divided by log of 3, and we get 2.63. 2.63 equals x. Okay. Your money market account grew from that amount to that amount in 19 years. Wow, big chunk of change. It's a long time, too, though. What was the rate of interest? Interest is compounded continuously. You will need to know this formula. P, e to the RT. They may write it separate. They may write it differently. They may write, if they write it, a sub 0, meaning your initial amount. Anyway, this should look familiar. 2,800 is your original amount. 7664.65, and then e to the, well, we don't know the rate, but we do know the time, so it's 19 times r. So we're going to solve this thing for r, and don't you panic, it's not that bad. We're going to divide by 2,800 on both sides. Find out what that is. So 7664.65 divided by 2,800. And we get that. I'm going to carry that whole thing with me. Normally I round things off, but not now. The reason I'm not is because rounding off when you're later going to take a log, really messes things up. It creates a tremendous amount of rounding error. So we have a variable in the exponent, and there's an e involved, so this is going to be a natural logarithm. Oh look, there's a video that corresponds to this page on Moodle. How convenient. Y'all should watch it. Natural log of this right here. How do you know it's that? Because that's the way you rearrange it, son. Or daughter. Equals 19r. Again, there's an understood e down here, and if I drew the heart, e to the 19r equals that, then I would be going backwards, which I'm not going to do. Let's find out what the natural log of that is, and at this point we can start rounding a little bit. So the natural log of our last answer is 1.007. I think that's a pretty logical place to round it, those 3 9s in a row. Put it there. Okay, now we'll divide by 19. I hope this ends up pretty. Oh, isn't that cute? 0.053. See all those? Man, that clearly rounds that up to a 3. So 0.053. And this is correct, but we are dealing with a rate of interest. So if I walk into a bank and I'm like, hey, what's the interest rate on such and such? They won't say this. They'll probably say 5.3%.